All right, guys, let's dive into these Friday games on November 25th. First college game we're going to talk about is Tulane versus Cincinnati. Cincinnati is -1.5. The over/under is 44.5. Trey, I'll start with you.
Tulane has surprised everyone. They upset my K-State Wildcats early on in the season. Cincinnati has kind of been a disappointment. We didn't really expect them to be elite like they were the past few seasons with Desmond Ritter gone and Sauce Gardner. But I'm going to go with Tulane plus the 1.5 here. I think their defense is elite. Tulane is 6-0 ATS in our last 6 road games. Tulane is also 8-1 ATS in our last 9 conference games. Cincinnati is 1-5-1 ATS in our last 7 games overall. So I'm going to go Tulane plus the points here. I think that they should win this game even. So I'm going to take the money line as well at the -102.
Okay, yeah, it's a big game for both of these programs. Tulane has been very good this year, out of nowhere. I think they were like 2-8 last year, so this is a very big turnaround for the program. I'm gonna stick with Cincinnati though, minus the 1.5. Luke Fickell, head coach for Cincy, he's coached bigger games. He has more experience in these type of games. Cincinnati's reigning AAC champ, so I'm gonna take the coaching experience and Cincinnati to win this game minus the 1.5. Teats.
Yeah, kind of like what you said, this game right here is going to come down to who plays UCF in that AAC championship game, since UCF beat both teams throughout the regular season. Something to note, Cincinnati has not lost a home game in like 32 straight games. The longest streak is Clemson right now. I do agree with Trey's betting strategy here. If you take the spread, you might as well take the money line too. I'm going Cincinnati -1.5 and the money line as well. I don't think it's going to be – I think it'll be a great game to watch, but I think it's going to be like a 3+ game finish, and I think that Cincinnati is going to win by a field goal.
Yeah,
Looks like I'm lone wolfing.
Yeah, it should be a really good game, very entertaining. Cincinnati, and Trey with the lone wolf on Tulane. All right, let's get into our next game, Baylor versus Texas. Texas is -8.5. The over/under is 55.5. I'll start. Texas big in this game. Texas is the better team. Bijan Robinson's a stud. He's going to have over 200 yards, probably a couple scores, and they're going to run all over Baylor, and they're going to end Baylor's season on a bad note. Texas should get this done easy in a big win on Friday. Teats?
I unfortunately, I'm just doing a lot of agreeing with Bear this episode so far. I've been fading Texas most of the season. I didn't think they'd beat K-State. I honestly didn't think they'd beat KU. And after watching what Texas did to KU last week, I mean, I can't not take them. I know that Baylor looked really good against TCU. They definitely controlled that game up until like the last 7 minutes of it. But Texas, when they are on, they are a different animal. And this game is for the Big 12 spot in that tournament or the championship game against TCU. I think Texas wants that rematch. I think they want to take down TCU to ruin their season. I think Texas wins this game.
Yep, so we're Texas. Trey, you lone wolfing again on this one?
I'm lone wolfing, but I'm going with the under. And I know you guys love unders. I'm going under 55.5. Believe it or not, the under has hit 9 straight games in this series between Baylor and Texas.
Wow.
The under is 9-0 in the last 9 games. And the under is also 6-1 in Texas's last 7 home games. So their defense loves to show up in front of their crowd. So I'm going to go under the 55.5. And I do think Texas should win this game, but I'm staying away from the 8.5 because Baylor has been kind of stingy this year. So I'm going to go under.
All right, under Texas and Texas. Let's move on to NC State versus UNC. North Carolina is -6.5. The over/under is 55.5. Teats, I'll start with you.
This is kind of a matchup of one of the best quarterbacks in the country, collegiately at least, versus a team that is a shadow of itself. Drake May, they had a really bad loss last week, but he has, I think, like the most yards in Division I, at least for the Power 5 conferences. I'm going with North Carolina -6.5, or I guess -6 on this one, so I even get half a point. I think that the Tar Heels are going to bounce back. I think that they're going to come out for blood. This is an in-state rivalry game.
Yep.
I think NC State, I could be wrong, but they could be starting their third-string quarterback this week, depending on what their second-string quarterback, if he's still injured or not. And they have not looked like themselves. So I think that North Carolina can escape this one pretty easy, a touchdown or more.
Yeah, Teats, I'm gonna back you again. North Carolina -6.5 is my play. NC State has a really good defense. UNC has a really good offense, and in college, we all know offense usually wins. So I'm gonna take UNC to win by a couple scores. Trey.
Yeah, we've been talking about this NC State team a couple weeks now, and each time I've betted against them, and that's going to continue here. We're going to team ride with North Carolina -6. NC State is 0-5 ATS in our last 5 games overall against North Carolina. NC State is 1-7 ATS in our last 8 games overall, and NC State is 1-7 ATS in our last 7 ACC games. So I'm going to go North Carolina -6. I think they should win by a touchdown easy.
Yep.
Like Jesse and Teats said, I think that they should even win by 2 scores. So I'm going to go North Carolina -6 for a team ride.
All right, team riding on North Carolina. Let's move on to Florida versus Florida State. Florida State is -10. The over-under is 57.5. Trey, I'll start with you.
The Florida Bowl. I'm pretty excited to see who's going to come out and win. If you would have said after week 1, we would have said Florida is going to be national champions and Florida State is going to be the worst team in the NCAA. But both teams have switched courses, and Florida State is hot right now, and Florida might be one of the worst teams in the SEC. So I'm going to go Florida State -10. Florida State is 4-0 ATS in our last 4 games overall. Florida State is also 6-0 ATS in our last 6 games in November. Florida is 3-9 ATS in our last 12 road games. So I'm going to go Florida State here, -10. It's a lot of points. It kind of scares me, but I think their offense should show up against Florida.
Yeah, I don't think it is a lot of points over this Florida State team. Florida's broken. We saw it last 2 weeks. Last week they lost to Vanderbilt in their last contest. So Florida State has been very, very good, winning in the last 4 games, covering the spread in all of those games. So Florida State's just a hotter team right now, and Florida – I don't know what's wrong with Florida, but they are broken. So I'm going to take Florida State to win big. I don't think the 10 is going to be a problem for this team. Teats?
There's no team right on this one. I'm taking Florida +10.
Mm.
I'm doing it against any good thoughts, honestly. I kind of want to just go drink after this, but, it's an in-state rivalry game. It's a big rivalry game. It's almost as big as Florida State and, Miami, and that's a pretty big rivalry whenever we get to see it. I just think that Anthony Richardson, he's going to bring them to the promised land at least one more time for the rest of the season. Like we were talking about, he could be a top quarterback this season. He's looked as good as a bad quarterback could be for a team that should have been so much better this year. Everything I look at, I've got notes. Everything I'm looking at says Florida State should win this one honestly, like 30 points. I don't even know. But I'm going Florida +10.
All right. Gut pick with Florida +10. I don't hate it, Teats.
It takes guts.
It does. All right. Florida +10 for Teats. Trey and I are riding with Florida State -10. That'll do it, guys, for our Friday picks on November 25th. Please be sure to drop a like and sub down below if you enjoyed the content. We'll see you next time.